Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon Altaf. Okay, we'll kickstart it a little earlier today because we still have about 19 minutes or so. But I think that it might be good to kickstart it a little early. And those that you arrived earlier, that's fine. And those that haven't, because it's going to be online anyway. And as you know, I was meant to be going last week to the east. And I had a little flight cancellation on the spot back in Chicago, so I had to return. But I'm making a second attempt, but this attempt will be foolproof attempt. This time I will get there. So I'm leaving next week before the Shabbat. So I will be there. I will be there before the Shabbat, and the next Sabbath, the teaching will come from the east. And then what I'll do is, because I'm going to be dealing with internet over there, there's no regular Wi-Fi in the area where I'm going to be staying. So I will be recording, and I will be sending pre-recorded messages to you that Rabbi Kefa will play at this end, and we'll work it like that, which will probably be easier for me as I travel the country up and down, and I have to visit different cities, and I'm not going to have a regular internet most places anyway. So I'm going to be using my little friendly travel modem, which will have data on it, so I can utilize that to connect back and forth and also send up the recordings. So that's basically that. Now, today, Pasha's Pinchas, I believe, is a Pasha for today. Very, very important Pasha in terms of what God teaches us. Because here we're looking at the book of Numbers, chapters 25, and as the story goes, that Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, he was the son of the priest, the son of Aaron, the Kohen, has turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he manifested much zeal for my sake among them, that I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy. Wherefore say, behold, I give to him my covenant of Shalom, and he shall have it, and his descendants after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he manifested zeal for his Elohim and made an atonement for the children of Israel. And so on and so forth. Then it goes into the person that was slain and the person who caused the plague and everything else. So basically, in a nutshell, what we can say is that the covenant of Shalom belongs to the house of Aaron, us. We are the people with the covenant of Shalom. Even though we may have rowdy people around us, people that deliberately want to start wars, they want to start house wars, city wars, countryside wars, world wars, we tend to start with the peace. We like to start with peace, and when things don't get in check, then of course we may have to go to the war mode, but war mode is our last mode. It is the ultimate straw. It's like the last straw. We do not start with war. We always start with Shalom, with peace, because we have the covenant of Shalom. So based on that, last week, maybe I'll give a little more explanations on this as we go through what Shalom really means. But here, I wanted to kickstart my lecture from last week's lecture, which was to do with poverty consciousness. And I don't care how many times you do your visualization, I don't care how many times you repeat your affirmation, if you, as a person, carry the poverty consciousness, and this is part 2 of that same lecture, and I think it's fundamentally very important. This will change people's lives. Because if you don't remove poverty consciousness, nothing will work for you. Because you're going to find that things are not happening, you're going to find that your desires are not being met, and you're going to find that you're failing on every front. And what is the reason for that? The reason is not that you're a bad person or God has put a curse on you. None of those. Like I said to you last week, God does not care whether you drive a Mercedes or whether you drive a bus. He don't give two hoots about it. Because God can let you drive a Mercedes and be happy, and God can let you drive a ruggedy, two-ton fruit bus and you'll still be happy. He don't care. You can drive a $600,000 Mercedes, or you can drive a $60,000 Mercedes. God don't care. So let's get this thing straight. Because a lot of people today are living in a deceptive mindset that somehow God cares for those people that have more money, or somehow God doesn't care for people who don't have money because they're poor. Poverty, let me tell you what poverty really is. Poverty is a disease of your brain. It's not a disease from God. When you understand what I just said, it is a disease of the brain. When you fix your brain, you will fix your poverty for life. Now there is a guy, I was reading about this guy. His name is Eric Jensen, and he wrote a book called Poverty Brain. Eric Jensen. Now apparently I read that this guy's books are being used in some schools in this country, in America, the United States of America, of all countries. They're using it in some schools over here and some schools abroad. And this person is working to correct the poverty brain. Because look, let me spell it out for you. 97% of the resources of this world, 97% resources, are controlled by 3% of the people of the whole world. Now, think about it. 97% is a huge, huge figure, and yet the controlling families are only 3%. Now, you've got to ask the question, how come only 3% people control it? Well, a lot of people live in fanciful fantasy land. You know, a lot of people living in fantasy land, what they say? Oh, it's the Illuminati. Oh, it's the Rothschilds. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Always there is an excuse. There is a reason. There is something that they want to thwart, but they do not really understand it is your own brain that is keeping you in poverty consciousness. So these people who can continue to point fingers at Rothschild and at Illuminati, they are the ones who want to have the wealth. They want to have money like other people, like the rich people out there, the rich families, but they cannot have it because they live in a poverty consciousness. And the poverty consciousness is what derives their, derives their response. Their response of attacking people like Bill Gates, maybe President Trump, maybe Larry Wilson, all these rich people, maybe Jeff Bezos, all these rich people. Why do they attack them? Because they get their how should I say it? They get their fix. Like people have to drink coffee in the morning as a fix. They get their fix from putting other people down that they cannot meet up to their standard, because those people are rich people. Because these individuals cannot meet that standard, so what they do, they get their fix by talking about them and backstabbing and tailbaiting and gossip, basically. Things that will not get you anywhere in life. Because you could talk about Jeff Bezos all day long. Does Jeff Bezos really care what you said about him? He couldn't care less about what you just said about him, because he is doing business on Amazon. He's got plenty of sales. Everybody wants to be selling on Amazon, and Jeff Bezos doesn't have enough Amazons to populate everybody to sell all the stuff they want to. So Jeff Bezos is sitting comfortable in his house, doing his thing, the daily routine that he might go through, and doing his business details, buying his properties, spending his money, putting in investments. And does he really care about what somebody thinks about him? No, I don't think so, because Jeff Bezos couldn't give two hoots about you or anybody else that talks against him. This is the problem, that Jeff Bezos is a person that already dealt with the poverty brain. He already dealt with it. There are many people in this world today, and you will probably give me examples of people like that who were poor, and next minute they put money into business and they became successful, and today they are very rich people. So the lady who produced the movie Harry Potter, all the Christians. Let me tell you what the Christians' view mindset is. All the Christians, evangelicals, they talk against Harry Potter and the movie creator. Basically, she's a woman in England, and they talk about her and how, this is witchcraft and this, that, and the other. But do you think she really cares about what Christians think? Because she used to be unemployed. This woman used to be unemployed until she came up with the Harry Potter plot. She, then started writing novels. Then these movies came about, And before you know it, the woman became famous. She became rich and famous. And Christians can talk all they like every Sunday about her, but she couldn't give two damns about these Christians. You see, again, the poverty mindset. Poverty mindset, calling it witchcraft, calling it this, calling it that, and the third. This is the pastor's mentality. The pastors in Christian churches, what they do is they are in reinforcing. They reinforce your poverty consciousness. They are not your friends. If you think they're your friends, they're actually your enemies. Because anybody that reinforces your poverty consciousness, he is your enemy. He is not your friend. And if you're going to be sitting in people like that, if you're going to spend your entire life with the people of such type of people that only can speak angry words about Rothschilds and other people, my goodness, you really need to get a life. So, therefore, absolutely, King Solomon was a very, very rich man, maybe even worth more than $2 trillion by today's standards. So, the thing is this, that, I knew the Rothschilds up close because I worked in a firm that actually dealt business with them, billions of dollars worth of business, the firm that I worked in previously. And I also lived not so far away from a Rothschild mansion. That was there. It was there for the public, open. People could go see it. It's only 5 miles from where I lived. So my point is, I never had a inch or an inkling of hatred for the Rothschild because I understood, the Rothschilds were bankers. They were bankers. They still are bankers today, and they have established a business in banking over maybe the last 200 years. Well, great, because today many things happen through banking. Many things happen. You can get your home loans, you can buy loans for car, you can get car loans, and you can get loans through home improvements, everything. So maybe somewhere along the line you should thank the Rothschilds. You should say, you know what, thank these people because they allowed you to borrow money at whatever percentage of credit, and you can fix up your homes, you can get new cars, and you can do. Who do you think supports all of that mission? To purchase your cars on loans, to purchase your homes on loans. Well, there's usually a rich banker behind it that does that. So yes, the Rothschilds have a finger in there, in that particular pie. Now, you may not be happy to know how much percentage of interest they make. That doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, if you're living in a house today on loan, then a Rothschild or a Rockefeller has a finger in it, and you should be appreciative and not, you shouldn't be going around putting them down. You should actually thank God that there was somebody like a Rockefeller who gave you the opportunity to get a home loan. So don't load on it. Don't go around criticizing people just because they had money and they were able to do more than you could do. So the very start of anybody that is poor, they need to deal with poverty consciousness. When they deal with their poverty consciousness, then they will be able to move on in life. Now, let me give you some of the symptoms of poverty-conscious people, and you will understand where I'm coming from. Poverty-conscious people usually, they hoard stuff. They love their stuff. They hoard it like, it's like there's no tomorrow. Like, the world's never going to end, and they're going to live forever, and so they hoard stuff. So you will immediately see people like that, and they will probably be all around you. So they are hoarders. They're junk collectors. They collect junk. And what will happen with these kind of people is, they'll have stuff in their garage. We call garage, we call it shed over there in England. And they will have stuff in their shed or in the garage that's maybe 10 to 20 years old. It's not going nowhere, right? It's not going out of business. And it's just sitting there. Just pile of junk. That's all it is. Pile of junk, and they're sitting there, and they won't get rid of it. That is how you recognize a poverty-conscious brain. So, how do you remove a poverty-conscious brain? Well, we'll talk about that more later. But let's just talk about the symptoms or the analysis. So, what will happen is that these people will love their stuff so much, they don't want to get rid of it. And they will have like-minded friends. In other words, they will have friends that are exactly the same thinkers as they are. So if they like collecting junk, the friends like collecting junk. I was listening to one of the rich guys out there, and he was talking about the law of attraction and other things, and he said one thing which was true, and I think it was said by Napoleon Hill as well in his book, that the best 5 friends that you have, you will be like them. In other words, if your best 5 friends are poor, dirt poor, then you will also be dirt poor. Because you think like them, you act like them, you behave like them. These are your best 5 friends. And your best 5 friends, if they are rich people, then you will also be like them, rich, and you will have similar salary as they do, and you'll be in the same kind of company. So what does that teach us? That actually teaches us that we need to know who our friends are. We need to establish, is my friend a poverty-conscious person, or is he an abundance-conscious person? What is he? Because remember, last week I spoke about collecting vouchers, coupons, and blah, 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 and trying to save, 2 pennies on a pound and 2 cents on a dollar. That's basically where we are, what we're trying to fix. So what part of the brain makes you do that? And the part of the brain that makes you do that is the part that's called the neocortex. The neocortex, the left side of your brain and the right side of your hemisphere, these are the 2 big hemispheres of the brain if you look at the brain image. And these are the ones where all this chatter, this constant thought, all your thinking that comes in, it comes into these parts. And they are the poverty-conscious centers. So these things, by the way, the Indians, the ancient gurus in India knew this thousands of years ago. They didn't need science to tell them anything. They knew that these 2 areas of the brain are the poverty-conscious areas. And if your entire life is focused on these areas, then you will never ever get off your ground. You will always be poor. So they understood, when somebody will say to them, like these gurus, they'll say to them, how do you manage to, get this Mercedes or buy this big, this big, place and turn it into a ashram? How do you manage to do that? And they will tell you is by just sitting on their sofa, just sitting in their little hut in India, and they decided that from the little hut they want to be big in America. Next thing you know, they come to America, they get a ticket, and they have somebody sponsor them, and before you know it, they have a beautiful ashram, beautiful building in Los Angeles, California, San Diego, New York, and everybody's rushing to go there. Everybody wants to go there and get their blessing and learn what did they do that these rich people can do also, that they can become also more richer. So the point being, these Indian men, they are gurus in their field. They are, adept at their field, and they are wise people. They're not, stupid people. And they understood that the way to overcome the poverty consciousness is to suppress that part of the brain, which we call the neocortex, the left and the right hemispheres. If they could do that, if they could suppress those parts, then they could get to the abundance part of the brain. And the abundance part of the brain, as I explained to you before, and I gave you meditations about it, is called the midbrain. The midbrain area of the brain is the abundant part of the brain. That is the part that you need to work on, hence why my meditation, it was for that particular area. And the third eye activation, if you're able to activate those areas of your brain, they are what we call miracle areas. They create miracles in your life, and they will remove poverty consciousness, and they will remove you from this poverty cycle. So you need to consider what areas of your brain are playing a havoc in your life. And I can guarantee you that 97% of the people today in this world, they are not plagued by or cursed by God. So God has nothing to do with it. They are cursed by their own brains, by themselves. They are their own curses. They do not know how to deal with their poverty consciousness. And what they do, they get more and more and more into it. And if you talk to somebody like that, let me be very honest with you, if you talk to somebody like that, they mostly, except of course a few times, mostly these people will get aggressive with you, they will get angry with you, and they will not like what you have to say about their poverty consciousness because you're challenging their belief system. Listen, it's a belief system. It's a belief that I need to keep my hoard my stuff. I need to keep my junk. It's a belief. And you tell them get rid of that junk, Your enemy number one. I'm telling you, your enemy number one after that. You better start, thinking about where you need to live next, because you won't be able to stay in that house for very long. So the point is this, right, is that the people who hoard junk, and I knew many people like that in England. When I was in England, I read stories. It was amazing stories. There was one story of a woman in the very town I lived in. There was an old woman. She would come in really raggedy clothes. She would wear like clothes she bought from Oxfam. Oxfam is one of these stores in which you can buy cheaper clothes. And she would get clothes from Oxfam, and she would go to shopping in Sainsbury's. Now Sainsbury's is kind of like a middle class, shopping market, bit like Walmart, on a smaller scale. And they would go to this store, and this one woman, when she died, she died in her older age, and it was claimed in a local newspaper that she had £2 million that she had hoarded in her home. £2 million. At that time when I was in England, that was about $3 million. Now you tell me, where did she get with all that hoarding? She was hoarding her stuff. She was keeping money in the home, hidden away, but didn't keep it in the bank. And that's what they actually found when she died. So you cannot tell people like that they are wrong, because they have a belief system. They need to deal with the belief system first. If they don't deal with their belief system, their brain tells them, the neocortex tells them that what you're doing is right, and everybody else, what they're doing is wrong. So to them, to those kind of people, every person out there is part of some conspiracy theory. Either is for them or against them. They live in this little fantasy world. And I call this the little fantasy bubble. In this fantasy bubble, either you are part of the conspiracy theory or you are part of the non-conspiracy, and their belief system is so strong that you try to speak about their belief system or criticize them or say something, you are enemy number one. You are enemy number one at that point. So they, to their eyes, they have already decided. They have decided that, like for instance, let me be very clear. I will never say to you that Mr. President can do no wrong, because Mr. President can do wrong and Mr. President can do right. But to these people, Mr. President can do no wrong. He can absolutely do no wrong. He can go and maybe obliterate a whole country, but no, he cannot do no wrong. He can bomb, Afghanistan to obliterate, he can destroy Afghanistan completely, like Mr. Obama. Let's talk about Mr. Obama for a minute. He bombed Obama to smithereens, but Mr. Obama could do no wrong because he was a president, right? Think about it. So when Mr. Obama was president, he blew Afghanistan into smithereens. He dropped he dropped bombs and missiles like no man's business. But Mr. Obama could do no wrong because he's the president. That's the belief system that these people carry. Now, when you carry that kind of faulty belief system, you will never know what is morally right or what is morally wrong, because you have now made your president God, and he can do no wrong, because only God can do no wrong. So that's the problem. The problem is that you cannot see through moral eyes anymore. Now, we do know stories. There are true stories about military where a soldier was given orders to shoot down children and women. In a combat, they are given orders to say, shoot down some men, and there are children and women there, and shoot them down also, whilst you're shooting the other men. Don't worry about the women and children. But what do the soldiers say? The soldiers turn around and say, no, sir, I can't do that. It's morally wrong for me to shoot down, women and children as part of my exercise. And then what happens is, next they have two choices. Either they get court-martialed, or, they have to do what they're ordered to do. Point being that if you question the orders or the order giver, you're classified as, basically against the military principles. So, but we do know that there were people like that in history that refused to do that. Now, there's two sides of the fence. Are they right or are they wrong? Well, if you ask those people who refuse to do that, they'll say, morally, it was unacceptable for them to shoot civilians. But of course, for military, civilians are just collateral damage. So you can look at it from both ends, collateral damage or innocent blood being shed. So, in the Bible we are told that if you shed innocent blood cries out from the ground. Now, how does that affect us? Well, let me give you some examples. There is a movie that I encourage you to watch. It's called The Outpost. I think it recently came out, probably Netflix or something. The Outpost is a good movie. It's based on a true story. Now, The Outpost was a particular area in the mountainous region of Afghanistan where they placed this little American base. When I saw this movie, the first thing I said at the very beginning of this movie, somebody's got to be absolutely crazy to put a base bang smack in the bottom of the mountain. I thought whoever did that obviously needs their heads checked. Whichever military planner said put a base over here, absolutely bad idea, because that was a kill zone. That would mean that anybody that in that base was in a killing zone. From above, anybody could come at the top of the mountain, shoot down and kill them. It was just like sitting ducks. And that's what was happening. The Taliban were getting into that zone, and they were coming into the mountain one by one, and they were shooting down, and they were taking people, they were killing American soldiers. So, and I asked myself the question, I said, how can you even do this? This is basically what happened in Afghanistan. I was like, how can you even think like this and do that? But of course, American military planners, guess how clever they were who did that. So they did that, and many people died over there. Many soldiers were killed. And then there was this Muslim guy on their side of the American side, and he would come running into the scene and say, "Hey, Taliban are coming. The Taliban are coming in large numbers." And they say, "Nah, forget him. He keeps saying that. He was saying that last week and nobody showed up. He was saying that this week and nobody showed up. Forget him. He's just talking nonsense." So they would ignore him. And then one day he's coming running again, saying, Taliban are coming, and they still ignore him and say, he doesn't know. He's always saying that. Don't worry about him. And before you know it, the whole place is surrounded by about 200 Taliban all around the mountain. And they're shooting down, and they're kicking the daylights out of the Americans. My goodness, it's the movies that really need to be seen. And I was like, my goodness, how can the richest country in the world, with supposedly the best military in the world, how can they put their base right smack in a kill zone? I just couldn't fathom it. I just in disbelief when I saw this. And I was like, my goodness, just think about whoever did this. And I didn't know what the outcome would be, but I knew that the outcome would be many people would be dead. Many soldiers would be dead over there, and that's what actually happened. What happened, eventually, many soldiers died, and there was this one black guy. This black guy was a captain. Now, this is based on real events, and I thought this black guy was the most sensible guy that I saw in that movie. He went there, and these people, these soldiers go, well, how are we going to do this, and how are we going to liaise with the local people and make peace? And this black guy said, you will do what you're told, and you will make peace with these people, and you're not going to shoot people down. And just because somebody is watching from over there doesn't mean that he's come to kill you. So there was these elders from the local village come up, and there was a black dog in the military, and this black dog goes over to one of the elders, and he bites him, and the elders standing there holding his leg, saying, the dog bit me like this. And then the Afghan people, they have a retribution system. If you kill a man, or if you injure a man, you're going to have to pay tooth for tooth, eye for eye, literally. And so the man goes, there's going to be retribution. Now this black guy was really smart. I really like the black guy's attitude, because he understood the local culture, which none of these white guys understood. And he was sent by a white general over there, and this black guy was a captain. He goes, you know what? He picks up his gun. He picks up his pistol, and he goes and he shoots the dog. Retribution. And everybody's looking at all these white soldiers, looking at his disbelief, right? Why, he just shot a dog? He says, yes, this is retribution. So what if a dog is shot? Otherwise, you're going to start a third world war over here with these people. So he explains to these people, you better learn what the local manners are. You better learn it, because you're not operating in the local manners. You're operating like, guerrillas, and operating, like wackos, And this is not the way it works over here. So the black guy stands there and tells them, you better start behaving the correct way. Because these people have a culture, they have a way how they live, and we need to respect that. We can't go around, doing things that are, okay American-wise, but are not okay local-wise. He very quickly corrects them that we're going to shut the camp down at such and such date, and you're going to have to start packing up to leave because this camp has got no place to be here. And so obviously by that time, somebody understands that the camp is at the wrong place, it's a kill zone, and Americans are dying over there. Somebody gets it, or eventually, this camp should have never been here. So eventually what happens, before they even get to that point, they were supposed to close in July, then they delayed by October. Well, guess what? Between July and October, the Taliban attack, and they wreak havoc on that camp. They come with, rifles. They come with grenade launchers. They come fully prepared. My goodness, they kicked some butt over there. I tell you, some American butt was kicked in that movie, and I was like, my goodness, how can the American military allow that? I was like, some generals' heads need to roll for this, because these people that died, they should have never been there, and they should have never died. But there you go, military planners, I don't know where they sit when they plan these things. Obviously not in the correct mindset. So my point being that you go to a foreign nation and you try to subdue that nation, and you call it, we've come here for peace, when you're not really doing peace. And so guess what they're going to do? They said, these guys talk to these guys and say, the American soldiers say to these guys, hey look, the commander says, hey look, you put down your weapons and we'll give you peace and we'll give you money. And the man, right, the village elder says, okay. He says to the three men over there, put down your rifles. So they put down their rifles. But guess what? There is no peace over there still. So people are still being shot left, right, and center. And the Taliban come, and the Taliban say, you know what? You got to get out of our country. Because if you don't get out, we'll make sure you get out. And guess what's happening now? So eventually, this thing was never understood by the previous presidents. Only up to now, Mr. President Trump, he only understood it that we can never ever defeat these people. They are fighters. They are warriors. And you know which tribe they belong to? Well, let me tell you which tribe they belong to. They belong to the Benjamin tribe of Israel. And they're going to kick your butt like no man before. Because they kicked the British butt, they kicked the Russian butt, and they will kick your butt till you all go home. Because they are the tribe of Benjamin. And they are fighters for a reason. They're fought. And we know our history. We know Israel's history, what happened with Israel and the nations around us. So when you understand that who these people really are, then you start to respect them for who they really are. You won't be like, they're just some, raggedy-taggedy army over there. So the point being that you cannot just go into everybody's country and start whipping butt, because look at who you're fighting. Look at their history. Look where they came from. And those people know where they came from. They know their history. They know their genealogies. So I was like, my goodness, 14 nations of the world go in there, all, gung-ho with their weapons, beautiful tanks, shining missiles, and look what these people do to them. Look what they do to them. They make mince cake out of them all, and they send them packing back home. Come on, think about it. Think about it. Who are these people who can do that? There's got to be somebody, some ancient nation who has balls, steel, who can do that. They're not just ordinary people. So I was like, President Trump's probably the only president in America to date who actually understood that. And maybe he knows something about their history as well, and maybe he knows something bit more than most of the other presidents did, that we'll never win the war over here. Doesn't matter how strong and how powerful. And I said this in one of my books. In one of my books that I wrote earlier, many years back, I said that you'll never be able to defeat the Taliban. Never. Never means never. Your technology is going to get nowhere for you. You can put all the technology in the world over there, they'll still defeat you. And that is true to this day. That was proven true. Why? Because look, if they are the tribe of Benjamin, and there's some other mixed tribes there as well, what do you think? God has a covenant with the tribe of Benjamin? Or some white guys in America? Does God have a covenant with some white guys in America with military guns and rifles and tanks? No, he has no covenant with Americans. But he has a covenant with Israel. The covenant was that they will never ever be destroyed. So what do? You send in the British, you send in the Germans, you send in the French, you send in the Americans. Guess who gets destroyed? So we need to really think who we are fighting with. Until we realize who we are fighting with, we won't be able to make peace with them. So I think that's of fundamental importance, so you understand who you're fighting with. Now, I was very surprised when I was going through Pakistan's history. I was looking at Pakistan's history, and what was surprising, that it was a Jewish soldier, actually he was a scientist. He was a Jewish scientist that went to Pakistan back in the 60s, and he was the one apparently that developed the missile program. Wow, I thought, wow, missile program was developed by a Jewish guy in Pakistan, of all people. And I read his story. My goodness, what an amazing story he had. This guy came from Poland. He came from Poland, he went to Pakistan, as he was placed there by the British as a pilot, a fighter pilot. And from a fighter pilot, this man went on to become the scientist to, lead Pakistan into the missile generation. So Pakistan produced their missiles, eventually producing the nuclear bomb, which was, headed by another guy. So my point is this, that why would God, think about this, why would God place a European Jew in Pakistan of all places to help them build missiles? Think about it. Why? The only reason God would place somebody like that is because there's tribes over there. The tribes of Israel are there. Otherwise, what's the reason for it? They might as well be living in Brazil or some jungle of Brazil and getting their asses whipped by whoever, which basically happened to everybody else. I mean, what happened to people living in Brazil jungles? Well, the jungles were wiped out. The Christians went over there, the missionaries went there, with their little packages, given to them by big companies, and said, get these people out of here because we want to get the land for oil, we want to get it for the forest, we want to do this and we want to do that. And the missionaries went over there and they did exactly that. They cheated the people, they deceived them, they got them out of the land, and you can read about that. If you think that is all stories, I'd encourage you to get a book called Economic Hitmen. Get a book called Economic Hitmen, and you'll understand how the Christian missionaries were being used by governments and big companies to eradicate and to capture land that belong to what you might today call primitive tribes. So primitive tribes were destroyed with an agenda to acquire the land for maybe building bridges, maybe drilling oil, maybe drilling for minerals, or whatever it was. It was done, and it was done by this economic hitman, and even an American was the one who actually spoke out against it and said, this is what we are doing to these people. So, the history came straight from America. It wasn't like somebody made it up somewhere else. And probably, absolutely, kefa. Probably in Africa the same thing's happening. There's a lot of economic hitmen that go to Africa with projects, and then they're bogged down in Africa with big projects, and they put big loans on them, and then Africa can't pay the loans. Then Africa has to be enslaved to whichever companies that offer them the loans, whoever they are. So my point is this, that whatever the reason, that's what's happening right under the noses of the people. So, but let's come back to our lecture, the outpost. So the whole point of me saying about the outpost was that the movie The Outpost, the whole idea was that you need to know which people you're dealing with, and you need to know what you're doing is right or wrong. Okay, in the eyes of nations, nations don't care so much about right and wrong. They only care about power and succeeding in power. It's usually what happens. So that's that. So my point was coming back to the guru mindset. The gurus of India, who basically were people that were related to these gurus families. They were related to the tribe of Abraham. Let's go back to Ibrahim. It's called Ibrahim in Islamic world. And Abraham, he was the one who was also had families in India, because these people came out of India, as I said many times before. So they understood the Indian Vedic culture. They understood it because they were the one promoting it directly. So these people that are today coming out from India and saying that we can teach you, the law of manifesting or some kind of, meditation technique or perhaps other things, they are the same people that were connected with Abraham's families. Well, let's look back at Abraham's families. Abraham was a very successful man. He wasn't a poverty-conscious individual, because if he was poverty-conscious, he would not be opening his doors for the people. And poverty-conscious individuals, by the way, what they also, like I said, they are hoarders. And hoarders don't like to move homes, because, if they have to move homes, it's very hard for them to move their home, because there's so much hoarding over there going on. And it's very difficult to move from one home to the next, unless it's obviously bigger. Maybe then they can. But usually, non-hoarders, like Abraham, non-hoarders can make moves easy. For them, it's easy to make moves because, God tells Abraham, go, and Abraham picks up his bag and he's gone. He's gone before daylight's over. Kind of, colloquially speaking. So my point is that coming back to our lecture, two things: Covenant of Shalom. Covenant of Shalom belongs to the Levites. And the Levites are the guardians of the Torah. And the Levites direct the tribes. Now, they direct the tribes, right? So, what do you think is going to happen? All my life, I did not go back to Pakistan. I did not go there. I did not invest any money over there. I only went there for maybe the most I stayed in Pakistan. Believe it or not, right? The most I stayed over there, the most was 12 days. 12 days the most I stayed at any one time. And sometimes I would only go there and stay 8 days and then come back to England. 8 days, think about it. Now, right now, God took me back to Pakistan. Okay? Now God is taking me really back to Pakistan. And I wondered, why is God taking me back to Pakistan? Why go back to the East now? That I never went there in my whole life, and why go there now? Because there are various reasons. God is connecting me back to the tribes. Yeah, He's connecting me back to the tribes. I met people over there from the tribe of Benjamin, from the tribe of Judah. You name it, I met them over there. So clearly, there is some, hand of God upon this whole thing. That the reason why I'm going there. Otherwise, why would I be there? I could live in America happily. I could live in England happily. No problems about it. So the whole point is that God wants to bless those people too. They're not just going to be out of the blessing. They're going to be in the blessing too. Hence why I have to go there. Fair enough. That's fine. And so God makes the necessary provisions. So when God takes you someplace, He makes the necessary provisions as well. And so everything will be connected as it's supposed to be connected. Meaning that if I don't have a house, He will give me a house. If I don't have a car, He will give me a car. He will do everything He needs to do. And He will do that, and He has done it. It's not that He will, He has already done it. Baruch Hashem Yahweh for that. So my point is this, that, you can't just simply say that, blessing is only for America, or blessing is only for England. No, because there are other countries where God is going to be present, and God's going to be active in those countries too. So the whole point is we need to understand the Levites, the sons of Aaron, the Levites, because many people are Levites and may not be the sons of Aaron. But the sons of Aaron are going to be placed where the sons of Aaron are meant to be, in leading the people. Now, think about it for a second. If you were a Muslim and you left Islam, they will chop you in 4 pieces. In reality, that's what they will do. And you say, how barbaric, how barbaric they are. No, because they're trying to protect their religious system. Because to them, right, you leaving Islam is anathema. It's not possible. It's not allowed. But think about it now. Put me in that space. And I left that. And guess what? The Muslims are coming to me for guidance. Now, what does that show you? Why would they come to me for guidance? If they're chopping up people, right, who leave Islam, and yet they're coming to me for guidance, that means that I have the hand of God upon me, and I'm not like everybody else. That means I'm different. That means I am from the tribe of Levi, and I am from the house of Aaron. That's what that means. Because otherwise, why would Muslims be upholding me and saying, please come and help us. Please come and teach us. Because Christians are not saying that, but Muslims are, by the way. I have more Muslim students. I'm telling you, I have more Muslim students over there than I have Christian students. Now think about that for a minute. So I told my students, I said, I'm coming. And when I come, I will teach you what God really has to say and what God wants you to do in your lives to prosper yourselves as well. Because to me, right, I don't care, Muslim, Hindu, what a Christian, I don't care. Because to me, right, God did not place me here to choose people and say, well, I'm only going to teach this group and not that group. To me, they're all creation of God. And many of those families belong to the tribes. So I have a high respect for tribes of Israel because I know who they are. And I'm not an ignorant American, military person that just puts ignorantly a camp as in a kill zone and wants their men to be killed. I'm not ignorant like that. I have some common sense, and I know what the people do and how the people behave and how I need to go and integrate with them and to teach them. So that way, because there are two types of Americans. There's one type of Americans that are God-fearing and that are, of course, loving people. They want to, like everybody else, they love people. They want to do good. And there's another type of American, and these type of American are what I call just people with an agenda. And they're not necessarily, I'm not saying that they are like normal people. They are people with agenda, in which case they are not you and me. They're not typical Americans. These are maybe some politicians, maybe some military personnel, maybe there are some other people. They're political. They are political. They are what you might call the shadow government. They're shadow government runners. So they have different agendas. So the normal Americans, I know in the East, they have a lot of love for Americans and European people. But they don't have no love for these shadow government people. So these are the two types of Americans or the two types of European people. One type of European people, no agenda. Good people, loving, they want to do good. Another type of European people, they are shadow government. So you can call them, I don't know if you want to call them the swamp. I don't know if you call them another name. Whatever name you want to give them, that's fine by me. But my point is that these shadow governments, they always have an agenda. And their agenda is not to better people. Their agenda is only to better themselves in some way, shape, or form. Like, if they grow opium in Afghanistan, they'll ship opium out of Afghanistan to benefit themselves and build their coffers because they can use that money to finance more wars. Wherever, Africa, you name it, Saudi, in Saudi Arabia maybe, in Yemen maybe, wherever. They'll use that money to finance wars. And usually they have an acronym of like CIA. To give you a broad example. It could be CIA, it could be some other functionary of the government, and usually they are what I call shadow government. The shadow government works based on what they can do and how they can do it. So, they will always fail, Eddie. They will never succeed. Because I said this 20 years ago, that in Afghanistan, Americans, British, Germans, French, they will not succeed. They will lose that war. Even though they killed Osama bin Laden, they still lost the war. Today, 70% of Afghanistan today, after all this fighting, Taliban today control it. Now you tell me, did you guys win over there or did you lose? The Taliban tomorrow could decide to raid Kabul, the capital, and they could overtake it in no time. They'll kick everybody's butt and they'll overtake it. But the Taliban are just sitting on the edges and saying, you know what, we'll do it when we are ready to do it. We'll do it in our own time. We have plenty of time. We have plenty of children and we have plenty of guns. That's how their thinking is. Their thinking is not, they say time is our friend and we'll take over Afghanistan in our own time. And they have. After America pushed them back, the Allied forces that pushed them back, and then they came back again. I was like, wow, my goodness. The Taliban are undefeatable. No nation has ever defeated them. And as I told you before, they come from a line of King Saul. They're from King Saul's line, and they know that. So what fat chance do you have of defeating the tribe of Benjamin that God has basically said will never be destroyed? Think about it. Either God is lying or God was telling the truth. There's only two things. Either he lied or he told the truth. Well, if he lied, then he should have destroyed them and taken over Afghanistan. Since you did not take over Afghanistan, since you did not destroy them, God did not lie. They will never be defeated. So that's my whole thing is that they will never be defeated. Now, there are stories building up. There are things happening over there. And I can't tell you everything because, this is a public forum. And I can't declare everything that happens over there. But I can tell you that the Kohen is in a handshake with the tribe of Benjamin, not with the Taliban. I don't go shake hands with the Taliban, because Taliban now, who knows where they are? They're all over the place. But I'm talking about the people in Afghanistan, the local people, the people who want to live in peace, the people who belong to the tribe of Benjamin, but they're not fighting. They haven't got a Kalashnikov in their hand right now. I have some friends over there. Think about it. On the border, on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan, there are friends. They know me. And they love me for it. They love me and they know who I am as well. They know who I am and I know who they are. So guess what? We shake hands, we sit down, we drink teas, and we praise God that we met. That's what we do. Because we're not here to fight each other and kill each other. We are here to thank God that our people are alive and our people are well. And I pray for the rest. I pray for the rest of the Taliban people that they'll have peace in their lives. And I pray for Americans that, they stop fighting these wars, right, that are absolutely killing America's economy, and they're not getting nowhere, basically. Put it this way. So, as much as I love those people in Afghanistan, as much as I love the American people, as much as I do, and I don't want to see bloodshed, I don't want to see people dying, so I want, I equally want, remember, we have the covenant of Shalom, we have the covenant of peace. So, what's our default mode? Peace. That's our default mode. We want to live in peace. We don't want to be fighting each other and be at each other's throat, because that doesn't work. So it never worked in the past. It's never going to work in the present or in the future. We have to be in peace, and that's the only way to move forward. America can be strong. America can have stable economy, but America needs to make peace with some of the people that they've been fighting for the last 20 years, because it's getting nowhere. It's got nowhere. And just because you have shiny, M4s, it doesn't mean you're going to overtake your enemy. Because I tell you what, the Kalashnikov is a much better rifle. If I was given the choice of an M4 and Kalashnikov, I would take the Kalashnikov any day. So this is my point, right? Is that peace is always better than war. It's always better, and it's always good because at the end of the day, I ask this question: how many Taliban came over to America and destroyed your cities? Can anybody name me one Taliban that came over here and said, I'm going to destroy the Twin Towers, I'm going to take down New York? I don't know any Taliban that ever did that. Now, how many American soldiers go to Afghanistan to destroy Afghanistan and bomb it? Now tell me, how many soldiers do that? How many soldiers go there with a motive of destruction and death? And the answer is right in front, and stares you in the face. So, no, the Taliban are not the evil people that they claim to be. The people claim the Taliban actually want peace. And that's why American government secretively is now talking to the Taliban in Qatar, of all places, in what you call Qatar. We call it Qatar. So Qatar is the place where they're having discussions in Doha, with the Taliban to try to make peace between these governments, because they realize that, war's not getting anywhere. We have to leave. Because, it's just not helping anybody. So at the end of the day, my whole point is this: some people have never left their town. Some people have never left their town, but I have left many towns. I've traveled the world and I've sat in people and I listened to them and I had to listen to their problems, and I've come to one realization: that wars, sometimes you have to fight a war because I guess there's no choice when you're driven to it. But many, many other times you can actually make peace and live a much better life without killing other people. So I think we have arrived at that point. Americans, I can say as an American, we have arrived at a point where we can live in peace. And I think we need to pursue that path, period. So, there are nations who may have other views, but we need to pursue that path. India recently had skirmishes on the border with China. And I don't know if many of you know this, but recently in the last 4 weeks, China invaded parts of Indian border that belong to India, and they overtook them. It's called the Galwan Valley. The Galwan Valley was overtaken by China in many areas. China established a military presence. They brought their S-400 missiles. They brought their personnel. They put many, many camps. They built bridges. They built camps. They put tanks, Chinooks, you name it, they put everything there. And Indians, they tried to, first it was all propaganda with the, lying media, fake media in India. And then after that, when they couldn't get anywhere, they had to accept the terms of the Chinese government, which was that now that we are here, we're not leaving, we are staying. And you have to push back. And this now belongs to us, because it's always belonged to us. It's not yours. So the Ladakh Valley, the Galwan Valley, now today China is controlling it, by the way. And how much of that is being reported by your media? So how much is CNN reporting and Fox News? I haven't heard any. I mean, sometimes I might by accident turn on Fox News and, Fox 10 or CNN, but I've heard nothing. Crickets, silence of the lambs. So your media now doesn't even tell you what's going on over there. So, but anyway, China's basically gave India a little bit butt kicking, and they've overtaken those lands, and India can't do jack about it. And that's actually gone in the favor of Pakistan, because Pakistan has never been as favorable in the last 70 years. Pakistan has received such a blessing in disguise from China that has never happened. And I said, and I quote, Rabbi Simon Altaf will go to Pakistan, will establish his home, and Pakistan's going to get the best blessing of their life. And it is happening. It is happening right now as we speak. So there you have it, the Kohen in the gate. The Kohen in the gate, wherever I put my foot on, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, He will bless that country. He will bless that country tremendously. And so that blessing tremendously is happening in that country already. And they know it. They see it. They see it as well. And, when I came to America, America was not number one in oil. They had not yet got there. But when I came to America in end of 2014, America soon started to climb the ladders, and we became number one nation for producing oil. We became number one stock market of the world before the pandemic. And now, if you look at it, the stock market is going back up. Our indexes are the highest at the highest point, recovering. Nasdaq has hit the highest point, and so once again it proves that the coin in the gate matters. It matters, whether you believe it or not. And therefore, my whole point is coming back. Let's come back to the poverty-conscious brain now. Now, we need to deal with this poverty-conscious brain, and like I said to you, there is a way to deal with it. It's not like something that we can't deal with. It can be dealt with. This is why I have made many meditations. I made many meditations that actually tackle, your chakra system, because if your chakra system is out of balance, it can affect your life. But even more so, more even than the chakra, is the poverty-conscious brain. How do we deal with it? The only way to deal with it is that we need to train that part of the brain that deals with abundance consciousness. When we develop abundance consciousness, then the poverty consciousness will diminish. And as it diminishes, you will get more prosperity in your life, and you will no longer have the poverty consciousness. So it's a process. It's not something that's going to happen in a day, but it will happen over time. Now, I can tell you today, I can give a testimony of a person that I spoke with, I believe last week, and she got a blessing, and she got a blessing in that she purchased. Let me tell you, I actually advised her what to purchase. It was a Macintosh machine, Macintosh Air machine, and it was top of the range, laptop, top of the range memory, and you name it, I put the whole, the gamut in there, and it was going to set her back about $3,500. Now she paid for it cash, by the way, cash, because that came to her as a blessing because of what I taught. Now I'm teaching many things, to my students, and she applied what I taught, and she got a tremendous blessing, and she was able to pay cash for that thing. Now you think about it. Just think about it for a minute. What you're receiving from here, is it changing lives or not changing lives? And I can guarantee you this, a lot of people that listen to me and apply, and I must say apply, a lot of people that apply the techniques that I teach, their lives are being changed, radically changing lives. So don't take things from here for granted. Don't take them for granted, because you must not take it for granted, because it's gonna absolutely change your life if you listen and if you apply. The important word And Rabbi Kefa will speak this word many times in his lecture. The important word is execution. If you do not execute the knowledge, let me tell you something today. Knowledge. I'm going to say knowledge. Knowledge is the beginning of ignorance. Let me say it again. Knowledge is the beginning of ignorance. A lot of people out there that claim to have knowledge are ignorant people. But what does the Bible teach? The Bible doesn't say knowledge is the beginning of wisdom. The Bible says knowledge is the beginning of wisdom. Meaning what exactly? So knowledge is the beginning of ignorance. Why? Because what you do generally, you go, you listen to this lecture, you listen to that lecture, you heard this person, that person, and you collected this information, that information, you read this book and that book, and what happens today? Now you got several types of different information. But you're no better off. Your life hasn't changed. You haven't changed your home. You haven't changed your car in the last 50 years. So what does that teach you? It means that the knowledge you acquired is actually made you more ignorant. Because your life hasn't changed. So, but the Bible says something totally different. When the Bible talks about knowledge, the Bible is not talking about university knowledge or degree. The Bible is not saying that if you listen to I don't know, whoever is a guru in America today, as I say, the self-made gurus, I don't know, name some. What's that guy's name, Kefa? Who's very famous in America. I don't know, maybe Bob Proctor is one. Maybe Tony Robbins. Well, if you just listen to Tony Robbins and Bob Proctor, does that change your life? Has that changed anybody's life in this room? I haven't heard of anybody's life being changed here. Because they have knowledge. And you take that knowledge and you're still as ignorant as ever. And I've heard of many people that listen to Tony Robbins. I know many people who listen to Tony Robbins and they talk about him, but their life is still at stale, where they were at zero, it's at zero still. Hasn't moved. But who got richer? If they took a program from Tony Robbins, who got richer? Tony Robbins made the money. These guys are still stuck with their knowledge. So knowledge is the beginning of ignorance. When the Bible says the fear of the Lord, the Bible doesn't say knowledge. The Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. So what is the fear of the Lord? The fear of the Lord is exactly what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you fear, reverence. Fear and reverence are equal words. Fear and reverence. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom or beginning of knowledge. When you apply the principles that God has given us in the Torah, that is when you start changing ignorance into wisdom. That is so very key. So very key that you got to understand this point. This is such an important point. When you start to apply the wisdom of the Torah, because what did God say to Israel? He said that this information, these things that I'm giving you, children of Israel, these things I'm giving you, people will call you wise nation. Why would they call us a wise nation? Because we had information that will turn us into geniuses. Not from university degrees, not because I went over there, in Harvard University and got a PhD. No, that doesn't make me a genius. But what makes me a genius is when I enter and I turn the key of the Hebrew, and my goodness, the floodgates open. I was speaking to somebody, and some people got it and some didn't get it. And I said, I have the keys. I have the keys of wisdom. And I turned the key and I opened the floodgates of wisdom. They didn't get it. Some people got it and some didn't get it. When I spoke this in the East, I said, God has given me the key of wisdom. When I turn the key, and I'm going to open the door, and I'm going to walk into that door, and I'll have the wisdom of the world. Meaning, I'll have wisdom of God. And I use the term world just as an acronym. So, and I said, if you turn the key, you will also have the wisdom of God. But with your so-called knowledge of getting your PhDs in universities and your MSCs and your, MBAs, you will have nothing. You just have ignorance. That knowledge is the beginning of your ignorance. I spoke to, I have a friend in Pakistan. He's a professor. He taught all his life. He's a very good friend of mine. And he calls me all the time. And I was speaking to him. I think he's got a really high level degree in physics. And I was saying to him, Professor, You spent your entire life, studying and teaching. What did you get out of it? You know what he said? It was interesting what he said. He's a Muslim guy. He said to me, you know what? After all of that knowledge, he said, I got nothing out of it. He said, you know what? I am very happy today to sit at home, retired, and I have some Arabic stuff, from his holy book. And he said, I just read that, and I just dwell on it, and I try to, memorize it, and I try to repeat. He says, it takes me a whole day to do that. But he said, you know what? I'm in so much peace. He said, I'm in so much peace by just doing that, and I thank God for it. And I said, good for you. I said, good for you. Because the Arabic Quran, the Muslim holy book, a lot of the precepts in the Muslim holy book come from the Torah. So I know what he's saying. Because the precepts that the Torah gave us, they put them into the Arabic, and of course they're going to give solace to people. Like that, who's an educated person, who spent his entire life studying and teaching people. And even he turned around and said, you know what, all that knowledge that I acquired in university is total bullshit. It's nothing. It's rubbish. It didn't give me nothing. He said, but I got solace when I read these verses and I tried to apply them in my life. I got solace out of that. Meaning that actually you could say that the Torah, in some shape and form, call it the holy book of the Muslims, the Quran, but the in text within that, the text comes from the Torah. So he only understood maybe understood 5% of it. But that 5% he applied, it helped him in his life. It gave him some solace. Now, imagine the people of the books, us. We have 100% of that information. But it's lost. How many of you know, how many rabbis do you know out there that are working to restore the ancient paths? That are working to teach you the law of manifesting, the perfect law. How many rabbis out there doing that? I don't know a single rabbi out there that is teaching that right today. I don't know a single rabbi. Yes, you'll find many rabbis talking about Kabbalah. You'll find many rabbis say, well, if you do this in Kabbalah and write it this way and look at it this way, it might help you. I don't know a single rabbi. Other than, of course, Rabbi Kefa is my student. So technically, Rabbi Kefa comes under me. So Rabbi Kefa and myself. So my point is this, that what I'm teaching you is the crux of information that you're not going to get anywhere. And it's going to change your lives forever. If you follow and apply that information, this is not Tony Robbins, and this is no Bob Proctor. This is the Torah presented to you in a way you can understand it. And if you apply it literally, physically in your lives, I guarantee you that your life will completely change. This person who phoned me said, I need to buy a laptop. Can you please recommend which one? And I said, you need to buy this laptop, and with this features on it, and it turned out to be a $3,500 bill, and boom, it was, she could pay it in a second. Because she just got blessed by God, and she was able to pay for it. The whole detail, she was able to pay for it. And I was like, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. And she said, I applied the techniques you taught me, and I'm happy to report that it's helping me tremendously. And I said, I'm happy for you as well. And that's not the only thing she got. There's many other things lined up in her life. So I'm only telling you one bit of it. So my point is this, that apply and execute the information I'm giving you. If you want to remove your poverty-conscious brain, because we all have to deal with it at some point. Maybe you deal with it when you're a young man. Maybe you deal with it when you're middle age. Or maybe you deal with it when you're an older man. You have to, or an older woman. You have to deal with it. The only way, and I will be very, very specific, the only way you're going to deal with your poverty consciousness is to train your midbrain. I have given you the recordings, the meditation. If you don't have it, ask for it in email. Shimon63@yahoo.com. SHIMOUN68@yahoo.com. Ask for it, and I will send it to you free. Listen to it every day. That is what's going to create miracles in your life. That alone will open up the areas of your brain that will connect back to God, source energy, the Father in heaven, and you're going to create miracles in your life. Just by doing that, no affirmations, no nothing. Yes, you can do affirmations. You can be very particular about what you want, and that's all great. And you should do that. But I'm saying, if you didn't do nothing, if all you did is just listen to that meditation every day and apply it, your life will change. I know somebody, I don't know if he's in this room today. I don't think he's in this room today. He's probably somewhere else busy. But yeah, Rabbi Kefa, how much does Tony Robbins charge? My goodness, talk about a three-figure number, maybe $300, maybe $5, maybe $1,000, maybe more. It's a big figure at times. So I don't even want to go there. So my point is that this person that was in the room, you know what he told me? He says, Rabbi, he says, Kohen, the only thing I do is I haven't had time to write my affirmations. He said to me, he said, I haven't had time to write my affirmations. I only do two things. I listen to one of your meditations in the morning, and the other one in the evening I do it. Only 2 times a day. And he said, my business has doubled. He said, I have doubled my business. I can't keep up with it. I've got so much work coming in. People are saying, I'm jobless. In this pandemic period, people are saying, I'm jobless, I got no job. And the government is paying me a stipend for it. And this guy is telling me he's got so much work, he can't keep up with it. Now you tell me, what's doing it? See, even in coronavirus, even in a pandemic, what I am teaching you, you can make your own economy. You make your own economy, you make your own numbers, and you make your own salary. That's the deal. If you apply the knowledge, that's what you get. It's up to you. You can either live with a poverty-conscious brain, or you can say, you know what, I've had enough of this poverty consciousness. It's time to get rid of this poverty consciousness, and it's time to move forward. And the first thing you should do, this is my advice, the first thing is you get rid of your poverty-conscious friends. Get rid of them. Stop talking to them, stop visiting them, and start to, if you want to make friendship, make friends with the rich people. Get some rich friends. Get some friends who are affluent. Start changing your life from outside. First you change it inside. How do you change it inside? Well, start doing the meditation sessions. Start writing your goals. Start detailing what you want in life. Because you need to know what you want. I'm not going to tell you what you want. You have to tell yourself what you want. Tell yourself what you want. Write it down. And then start listening to the meditation. Start speaking those goals out every day. But here's another thing. Let me give you another little secret before I leave for the East. Never, ever speak in the South. Never. I don't care what the Feng Shui says. I don't care what this says. I don't care what that says. Never, ever speak your affirmations in the South. Always speak your affirmations in the North. The North is the area where God's throne room is. And that is the area of abundance and prosperity. That's all I'm going to tell you. The rest is up to you. So I will send it to you, Simcha. Rabbi Kefa, I think that I will leave it at this. And I wish you all well, an abundance in your life, and health, great health, good health, prosperity. But execution is a must. Execution. Now, I was telling Rabbi Kefa earlier, before we started the class, that we are producing some amulets. Call them amulets, call them some other term. Different things have different names. And I said that we're going to produce those amulets in the East. And I was asking Rabbi Kefa, does he want any for himself or anybody else? So there are 10 commandments that we produce in steel. There are the Psalm 23. There is the El Adon prayer. There is the Birkat HaBeit, which is a prayer for the house, for the blessings. There is several prayers that we print. There is also the prayer for Parnasa, which means for good livelihood. All of those things we're producing in the East. And we are basically at a stage where we can produce those and just ship them out to America or whatever, and people can, receive them. So, but we're working on different materials. We finalize on a steel, but I like to go one step further and produce those on some kind of leather. Maybe cowhide, maybe sheep, or maybe even deer leather. So, that's the next step that I've asked my student to look at. I've asked him to look at if we can produce them on some kind of leather. So he will make inquiries and let me know. But we are producing amulets that can change your destiny. These are ancient amulets. These are amulets can give you prosperity, can be debt removal, financial freedom, money, more money in your life, and other things. So basically right now we're in the forefront of those areas. And so, you'll be hearing more about that in due course. But I can't give you pictures of things, but all I can tell you is that they are being worked at right now. But at the very least, you should have the 72 names of God in your home. You should have perhaps Shema Israel, which we have in a stainless steel plate as well, and you should have the Birkat Habayit, the blessing of the home. At the very least, you should have these things, and of course the 42 names of God. These 4 plates are a must-have in your homes. Period. Now, you're going to have to talk to Rabbi Kefa about that. Who wants what. And then we can go over there and say to the people, say to the maker that we need X amount of plates, and I guess we'll have to ship them out of Pakistan in the east. We can do that once you decide. Now, don't think to yourself that we are trying to make profit, because I can tell you the bottom line is that the least in my mind when I was trying to print those plates was profit. I was telling my student that we need to print these at cost, and we need to send these over to the America at postal cost, and we need to know exactly the cost that it costs us to produce these and to send these, so I can send these to my students over there. And guess what? I said at cost. Think about it. I could have said double the price, triple the price. I didn't say that. I said we need to send them at cost to Rabbi Kefa. Then he can, decide the postage, local postage, and he can dish it out at local postage, whatever. So that's where I work, because I don't need to make my money from selling plates of God's name, God's 72 names and 40. I don't need to do that, because to me, right, they're precious. They're precious items. They belong in every home. But I want you to have the blessings that come as a result of having them. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you to receive those, and at the least cost, because it does cost. Nothing is free. It does cost, but at the least cost. Yes, it is, Simpa. Is Hashem's name awareness? Absolutely it is. I can tell you Hashem's name, right, but I don't want to overhear. It's a public forum. I'm not going to say his name and tell you how to use his name to bring abundance into your life, but you can. You can do that. Okay? So over to you, Rabbi Kefa. Enjoy your Sabbaths. Enjoy your week ahead. Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.
Kedar Rabbi HaKohen. If I can get her, can I get a 1? I know HaKohen will be in travels. Viva La France and Shabbat Shalom to you, Oliver. HaKohen will be in travels. The Book of Shem this week. I'm totally happy for him and excited for him. We don't sit down and have tea and conference over our lectures, but I will tell you, he said something that I'm going to talk about today that's one of my lectures about destination. And what did he say in his lecture? If you just heard it, he said, how many of you in this room want to change your destiny? How many of you, if you apply these things, you will change your destiny? You're destined for something. All of you are. Whether you believe it or not, you are all destined for something. Belief plays a key role, but not the belief that you've been conditioned to understand and know. But the belief comes from the midbrain. When you hit midbrain, you hit belief. Really, you have. Because then you can truly believe, not based on just lip service, but based on foundational, concrete desire and just constructions. And so, as our Queen is in travels this week, as he travels back to the place of his birth, Bashir, place of his domicile, one of the many places of his domicile. I would just like to say this and put this out to the family. And to Hakoin as well, is to Hakoin, I want you to go in peace, as you said you would, from America, from North America to be specific. I want you to go in peace from North America and leave North America blessed. Put that out there in front of the Mishpachah, in front of the family, in front of the Kohen himself. Now, I don't know if you're listening via YouTube or whatever social device that's out there these days, where you can tune in and listen in. If you're listening live, if you may have an issue with, is the Kohen a Kohen? Well, the evidence, the proof is in the pudding. He has given you testimony, description, time and again about events. that have happened in his life, not just lip service, but things that are going on with his students. As I am one of the students, I consider myself the most humblest of his students. And in all humility, I want to be the student that's, background. I see myself as like a Joseph, or what you may know of as Yeshua or Yahushua. I see myself as a Joshua. That's how I see myself. As a student of the Kohen. I'm just Joshua. I follow Moses. Wherever Moses goes, I'm there. And I'll wait on Moses as needs be. So that's how I see myself. But as a student of the Kohen, I'll tell you this, is that it's very, very important for us to understand that, to consider yourself, a part of the family of Israel, there are some key components that come with that. It's just not saying that you're Israel. Many persons, many people say that. So I want to repeat this one more time. Hakohen, go in peace from North America and leave North America blessed. That's my words as a family member, as a family of Israel, to the Kohen in the gate. Hakohen said, I will leave America a blessing. It's the nation that I live and belong to also. Yes, as I said, Hakohen has many domiciles. He has many residences, as we all should. And I would like to say this as well. As part of your destination, I would like to ask you, Mishpahah, what is your destination? What is your destination? It is, you need to ask yourself this question. This is a very, very important question. What is your destination? Think about it for a minute. It may take some time for you to really come up with, as you look at within itself, and come up with a particular answer that's beneficial to you, but I would encourage you to think about it and then to write it down. And in this forum, you can text, you can get on and be a keyboard warrior and really, be honest with yourself. Because that's where we reside. We reside within ourselves. And ask yourself, really, be honest. No honesty. That's why it may take you a minute. If it does, I understand. I totally get it. But it's very important that you know your destination. Where have you going? Where have you been? The where have you been part has already been filled in. Now it's where you're going. Before, I didn't know where I had been. I just understood that my ancestors that came over on this ship, and we had slaves, and we worked on some plantations in the South, here in North America, and that was it. I didn't know my beginnings. But now, with Hashem, thanks to the Kohen in the gate, you can't tell me who I'm not, because I know who I am. I know who I am. And so it's very, very important that we understand, okay, now that we have that part down, concrete, now what's the destination? What is your destination? You need to ask yourself that. What is your destination? I've always said in this lecture, we're destined. You're destined, this can change your destiny. Well, what is your destination? If we're going to change your destiny, let's be honest. Let's be real. Let's come and let's look at reality and stare reality in the face. And let's truly think, because we have to have a belief in something. You have to be destined. You're going in right now, whether you understand it or not, you're going in a direction. Right now, you're going in a direction. You're absolutely going in a direction. So, what is that direction you're going in? You see? And, the direction, it manifests itself out in the physical world that we live in. But it can be that you can't take detours in your direction. You can change your direction. But the important question today is to ask ourselves, what is my destination? I was watching this movie, and I found this very interesting, because the mother was asking her son, she's like, son, what's your destination? And you know what the son's reply was? He was like, Mom, the journey is my destination. She's like, oh, you get that? The journey is my destination. You see, a lot of folks never reach their destination. It's because they're so consumed with the destination that they don't understand it is a process and procedure to get to the destination. And in between that, as you would note, within the history of the Hebrews, within the history of Israel, is that they had a destination. What was the destination for Israel or the Hebrews? What was the promised destination? The promised destination was what? Anybody tell me? What was the destination for Israel? Or at the time we know of as the Hebrews when they came out of Egypt. Anybody tell me? What was their destination? You see, because again, the Most High, the highest, the God of Israel, this had to be etched in stone. You see, you just don't take people out and then, you just leave them like hanging. And you don't want to have that mentality for yourself. It's the way you come out, you're free, and you have all these resources, but then, okay, what's next? Okay, some responses say the promised land, the promised land. Okay, now what was the promised land? Let's be specific. What was told, what was contractually told to the children of Israel that the destination was? What was said? What was said? There you go, live present. They were going to go to a land of milk and honey. A land of milk and okay, that's the destination, right? Destination was land with milk and honey. See, this is why I'm asking you today. What is your destination? You see, once you're so-called free, once your eyes have opened, once you have come and awakened out of your slumber, then, okay, what's the next step? Okay, there has to be a destination. What am I destined to do with this newfound way of living? Now, there's no wrong response here. There's no wrong response. Now, when we look at Israel, so when you guys give your destinies and what is your destination, there's no wrong response because, again, when you look at our forefathers, the Hebrews, when you look at Israel, within that destination that we have already claimed, which is the land with milk and honey, during that destination, what happened in between that? There were many what? There were many journeys. They journeyed here, pitched tent, packed up, journeyed here, pitched tent, packed up, journeyed here. What I want us to focus on this day is that in the process of wherever our destination is, understand that there are many journeys in the process of reaching the destination. You're destined for greatness, yet you must realize and believe you're destined for greatness. You see, you can't be destined for greatness when you're complaining and all of your energy is focused on, well, am I going to get cancer? Am I not going to get cancer? Am I going to get this corona? Am I not going to get the corona? You see, that is what we can use as an example of us working on the two sides of the brain, like our Cody was talking about. But when you get midbrain centralized, you can say with all conviction that I'm destined for greatness. I'm destined for blessing. Because you are. Now, full disclosure, at this point, nobody has put in or texted what is their destiny as of yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because you got to let this marinate because it's serious business. How are you going to take a people out? You take a people out of slavery, look, and you're taking yourselves out of slavery. That's what you've done. And you have opened the doors to self. And now self has been freed. Self is who's within you. Yourself. You've actually taken the key, and you have unlocked, imagine it, and you have unlocked that particular sale to self. To where, okay, now self is free. And you can have, and you should build, and this is what I got from my Queen's lecture, and I wrote this down, dealing with relationship. Because, how many of you understand? And peace is negotiated through a relationship. And just like he's talking about in this movie, and I'm glad to catch that movie, he said the black man understood that, you know, you have to have different relations, and not everybody's on the same playing field, and not everybody has the same belief system, and not everybody has the same customs and traditions. So you must have an understanding, and this is why you truly need to be students of nature and students of humanity. It's so that you can come from a position of a level playing field in a relationship. What did I write down? I wrote it down specifically in the first place. In dealing with relations. Relationships, you know, listen to this. Need to know relationships. Build a relationship before reaction. Build a relation before a reaction. That's what does not happen a lot of times. A lot of times, we don't build that relation, but we jump right into action. You see? Build a relation. Well, how do you build a relation? Well, you got to get to one another. And just like we've been teaching here time and time again, we have to get to know ourselves, love ourselves, care for ourselves, speak to ourselves. Oh, this sounds asinine, Rabbi. This is some crazy talk of New Age, blah, blah, blah. Call it what you want. But at the end of the day, in your destinations and getting through your journeys, self plays a key role. I want you all to understand that. And if self is still locked up, then your destinations and journeys most likely won't materialize. Think about what I'm saying. Because I will tell you right now, a lot of folks miss their destination is because they have failures in the journeys. And guess what? When they have failures in the journeys, they quit. They quit executing, they quit applying, and thus they never reach destination station, as I call it. That's actually the title of my lecture, Destination Station. You want to reach destination station, but a lot of folks fail to meet destination station based upon failures in the journeys. Thus, they don't fall down and get back up, but they fall down and they stay down and they quit and they give up and they say, well, this is never going to happen. I'll give you a prime example of how you can succeed through destination station. All right, everybody knows this. Akoni was supposed to fly out at a particular time. The flight didn't work out. He was going to a particular destination, right? We all know this. But the flight didn't work out for whatever reason. And they told him, okay, you can have another flight at the end of this month. But, again, me and Akoni both say the same thing. He's not flying out at the end of the month. He'll fly out before that. That's based upon what? That's based upon him taking the necessary action and not throwing a pity pat and a temper tantrum. Oh, they canceled my flight. I can't fly to the end of the month. Blah, 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 blah. No, what did he do? He took another execution. He took, and he began to apply whatever techniques that he applied for himself and his belief system, whatever tools that he had in his arsenal, which he has many. And he began to not only apply, but take necessary action and not throw a pity pat in the corner. And he began to execute in such a way to where he can fly out next week, Baruch Hashem, instead of at the end of the month. This is an example of being connected to what? To the midpoint. Having that belief that you know that you know. Who cares what people are saying around you? Think about that. Who cares? The Lord says, my destiny is to live comfortably financially, have good health, and have a peace of mind. The top of that, Devorah. So it is written, so it is done. Baruch Hashem. Sema says, we are all to become like Hashem's way of thinking in words and in deeds. There is many avenues to our destiny, right? Well, if you say there are many avenues to your destiny, then that is right. You see, I was having this discussion with my daughter talking about perfection. I said, I'm perfect. She said, well, I'm not perfect, but I'm just getting better. I said, well, she said, I don't believe that people can be perfect. I said, that's what you believe, so be it. If you believe that you can't be perfect, then don't be perfect. Then your belief, then believe that. Then believe you can get better. But I believe that I'm perfect, and I believe that my son is perfect, and I believe my wife is perfect. That's what I believe. Now, here's the thing. Perfection is relative, isn't it? Think about it for a minute. Perfection, that word is just relative. But many people hang their hat on that word perfection, and you know how they come at it? In a negative instance. They come at perfection thinking that you can't. They come at perfection thinking that you already can't meet perfection. You see what I mean? See, they say the word perfection knowing that they cannot be perfect, but they like to use the word. But they're already degrading themselves down a few notches because they're already thinking with those two sides of the brain that I'll never be able to accomplish perfection. So, but I'll say perfection, and thus putting them or him or her in a stressful type situation. Because truly, at the end of the day, with their midbrain, they don't believe that they're perfect. But yet they say that they're perfect. So they set these false assumptions for themselves. They set these illusions, I'll call them. Because they say it, but they don't be it. And they say it knowing that they can never succeed in it. You understand what I'm saying? Don't be these type of individuals. How many of you in this room believe that you're perfect? I believe I'm perfect. Now, in perfection, can you not get more perfect? Is perfection the utopia? I submit to you not. Because you can even get more perfect. And then more perfect. And then the next day you wake up and you're perfect. And then the next day that you wake up and you're perfect. I believe perfection. I believe can I get better from perfect? Oh, absolutely. I can always get better, but I believe I'm perfect. And I'm going to keep believing that I'm perfect. And I'm going to live my life like I'm perfect. What's a mistake? Is a mistake relative? I see a mistake as experience. I don't see a mistake as a mistake. Do you see? Listen, I'm going to tell you all something. A lot of people are still in bondage with words. A lot of people are still enslaved with words. How many of you understand what I'm saying? Because of how they perceive that word to be. You understand what I'm saying? That they're still they're enslaved with words. I'm telling you, they are actually enslaved with words because, and I was listening to this guy talk. I'm talking about this. This guy in Africa, he was talking about colonization and what happened with Africa and how Africans have been colonized and how the African people themselves have lost their language and lost their pronunciation due to colonization. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Because they actually lost the power of their language and the meaning and how they pronounce words and sounds. And he was talking about sounds. He's like, man, you know, we African tribes, we lost our sounds due to colonization because, you know, the colonials came in and began to teach us the white man's English. And he wasn't saying it to be prejudiced, but it's just the facts. And then they began these great, powerful freaking countries with great history, great kings. They lost all of that due to their history being watered down by a total different language. Now, can we say the same for our way of life as the Hebrew? Can we say the same thing? I'm not coming to you from an African perspective, but I'm coming to you a descendant of the Hebrew perspective from the tribe of Judah. Can we not say that has happened to us as well? Well, I submit to you, yes. You look at our language. I couldn't mention this. You look at our language. What do we have? Paleo Hebrew, modern Hebrew. What is all that? That has watered down our heritage. We understand, like I couldn't tell you, that our language is pictorial-graphic. It's not these things. Our language is pictures. The ancient language. How many of you understand that language today? Well, with the Kohen, we have a better understanding. But before the Kohen, that language was lost, wasn't it? It was, and a lot of things that we do, like our queen was mentioned to me earlier, I mean, a lot of things that our real heritage today would be seen as a cult, as witchcraft, as idolatry. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. And remember what we told in our books. Good will be bad and bad will be seen as good. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. Why? Because this is a part of that watering down that we're talking about. That our legacy and the history that we have is lost. Some of it is savor. It's like lost in savor. So it can't give any flavor. It can't preserve anything because it's so watered down and it's so weak. And it's almost, if I could use the word, like worthless. Think about it for a minute. And just like our queen said, who else is bringing us back and not only restoring us back to our rich heritage, but restoring us back to our way of life, but restoring our language and our true traditions. Actually, how our forefathers actually did things. I mean, think about this for a minute. This is deep stuff. You all are definitely in the right place if you consider yourself Israel. You're in the right place. You're in the right place. But the Israel that you know, that you and I know today, and if Moses was alive today, he would say, what the hell? What the hell is this stuff that they're doing? What is the Ashkenazi Jew? What is all this blah, 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 blah? Sephardi Jew? What is this stuff? This is strange to me. So, Baruch Hashem, you're going to sit here and tell me, I'm just presenting more evidence that the Kohen is not the Kohen today? The Kohen in the gate, Rabbi Simon out there, is not a Kohen? Destination. Before the Kohen, I didn't know what my destination was. I had no clue. I was clueless. With the Kohen, I have my destination station. I have it. I have my desires. And I go, you know what I do? From journey to journey to journey. Just like I've been taught as a student of the Kohen, that's what I do. And that's my belief system, is to go from strength to strength to strength. I don't go from strength to weakness. I go from strength to strength to strength. I believe that. I believe that. So it's very important for us to understand in our seeking and our destination, whatever that destination may be for you, whatever it may be. Maybe some of you never asked yourself that question, and that's fair enough. This is why I want to present it to the family. That's fair enough. You may have never asked yourself, well, what is my destination? Y'all forbid your destination is to get to heaven. Because, again, that's a destination. And this is why a lot of people are upset and angry birds. It's because religions give you this fictitious, and they leave you with an illusion. They pulling these just horrible magic tricks that just never work. They wonder why they're so angry all the time in their religions. They're so angry when you want to hold a conversation with them and you want to establish a relationship. They don't want a relationship with you. Remember we talked about relationship? I wrote that down. Need to know. That's what? What does need to know mean? That's relationship. And the purity of the need to know, you know where that comes from? Midbrain. When you hit midbrain, that's when you know that you know. That's truly belief. When you just know that you know that you know. I can't tell me I'm not Israel. I know that I know that I know. That's midbrain. Midbrain. I want you to go through your day and consciously just begin to keep your focus on midbrain. Because if you don't, guess where your thoughts are going to journey? They're going to journey to the left or to the right. And that's what they're going to do. But you need to stay midbrain mentality. Womantality. Midbrain. Build the relationships there. Something came to my mind as well during our Cody's lecture. And it's been on my mind this week as well. Is that we need to reconcile. We need to reconcile with ourselves. How are you going to be able to do that? You got to get midbrain to be able to do that. You need to reconcile with yourself. Because the biggest part of what's happening with us is within our own selves. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the first thing that you want to do is to point the finger, like I couldn't talk about his lecture, and luxury class chimed in on it as well. He said, you always want to blame game everybody else. You see, so reconciliation has to come with self. We have to reconcile with ourselves. You see? Yeah, they were saying my destination is always growing and changing as I evolve and exercise the teachings of the Cody Book of Champ. Great destination. There is no wrong destination, Mr. Hall. What a perfect destination. I like to use that word perfect. Because I'm midbrain. Because I'm midbrain. Perfect. I see perfection all around me. Whilst others don't see it in themselves because they don't believe. Why? It's because they left brain, right brain, folks. Some are saying, however, it is ridiculous. We cannot understand the vocabulary of Aramaic here in this country. Well, again, everything's been watered down. Watered down. But what's happening is that our Kohen is bringing us back step by step. He can't throw it all to us. We can't handle the 7-course meal. But everything is a process. We have to crawl before we can walk. Although my son, John, is walking before he crawls. But either way, he does institute some crawling in there. Actually, the doctors got kind of mad at me because he's like, well, he needs tummy time. I was like, sir, my son wants to walk. I'm not going to prevent him from not walking. Well, he needs tummy time. So many things, coordination and blah, blah, blah happens when you're on your tummy. I was like, I get that, doc. But if my son wants to walk, I'm going to let him walk. I understand what you're saying. I totally get that. But again, doctors, majority of them just follow rote. There are some doctors that come outside of the box and they're real and they're reality-based, and I would encourage you all to find the reality-based type doctors. And not just the doctors that give you the book sense. Because I'm telling you, just like I told Akobi, that malaria pill is doing wonders for this corona. Regardless of what's being said in the media and blah, 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 that malaria pill is doing wonders for the corona. Couple that with that Z-Pack, my goodness, that's a win-win situation. For those of you who can't get a hold of that, me personally, I'll tell you what I'm taking. I'm taking zinc and I'm taking selenium. That's doing wonders for me. And I'm on the front lines. And I'm taking zinc and I'm taking selenium and I'm perfectly fine. And I will always be fine. Because I am the immune system. I am perfect immune system. That's what I am. That's what I believe. So in the destination process, doesn't matter the journey that you go on, destination state is destination state, however you see it. For my son, John, he's going to walk. Well, now, whether he crawls in the process of getting to destination state to walking, who cares? If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But does it have to be the same for everybody? No, it doesn't. And this separates the good doctors from the bad doctors. It's the ones that follow the book. They just follow the book and just wrote. But the ones that think, and they have that midbrain mentality where they can think outside of the box and say, okay, well, if it works, then it works for you, then it works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, then let's find something that works for you that makes you happy and that you're comfortable with. Don't just look at me and see me as a number. See me just as a number. Oh yeah, you have this diagnosis, so we're going to do this, and this. And it may work for you, and it may not. And if you die, then so be it, and we'll put you in this category. If you survive, then we'll put you in this category, and thus we continue to get our percentages. And you can think outside of the box. And say, okay, this works for you, great. We're all individuals, and we're all human beings, and we all bleed red, but we all think and we all desire different, and we all believe different. And when we can come at peace with that, my goodness, it will make the world a better place. Because I don't have to fully understand you, but I can respect you. Right, good girl? Welcome back, good girl. I can respect you. I don't have to fully agree with you, but I can respect you as a human being. And we can have a relationship based on that. We can have an awesome relationship based on that. And I don't have to agree with everything that you agree with. And I'm not going to be angry, Oliver, that you don't agree with everything that I agree with. Oliver may like long hair. I like short hair. So be it. But we can be friends. We can be brothers from the same mother. And Baruch Hashem. And we can live happily ever after. And I can have a relationship with you. A positive relationship based on peace. Not war, not fighting, not protesting, not being an angry bird, and not trying to spend all of my energy trying to change you into something that you're not, into something that you don't agree with. So be it. I want you to be happy in whatever state you want to be in. Whatever your destination state of being is, I want you to be happy. I want you to be whole. I want you to be complete. That's my desire for all folks on the face of this earth. All folks on the face of this earth. But don't entrap people because you haven't got outside of your world. You haven't left the four corners of your house yet. So you don't see the world as a world because you live in a bubble. And so that is your world, but that's not reality. That's not real. Other folks have different customs and traditions and belief systems. So you have to be able to sit down with folks and peacefully have a conversation. Establish a relation. Humanity is all about relationships. Whether you believe it or not, it's on you, but it's just a fact. We have relations every day, relationships every day, as we interact with other human beings. But the most important relationship that you can have is the relationship with yourself. The inner self, the inner woman, the inner man that's within you. The God that is within you. That's the most important relationship that you can have. If that relationship is murky or muddy, then everything outside of that, everything that will present itself outside of that is not going to be positive. Because first of all, if you say you love God, then you must love yourself. If you say you're seeking for God, then you must seek yourself. That's first and foremost. And it's very important in your destination. Whatever your destination may be. Good girl, I asked the question earlier at the beginning of the lecture, is like, what is your destination? That's the question that I put out to the family. What's your destination? Where do you want to go? What is your destination? What is your destiny? Do you want to go to destiny, or do you want destiny to come to you? But what I want you all to understand, for all of us to understand, that to get to destination station, it's going to require journeys along the way. And it's what we do during those journeys. It's what we do during those journeys. Look, says, wants everyone to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. It's basically, right? But and again, we had talked about this because heaven came up. That was one of the things that I was using. A lot of folks run behind the illusion of a heaven. They run behind that illusion. That's their destination. So they waste all their energy in between destination and now doing what? Trying to get to heaven. Each journey is what? Trying to get to heaven. Well, what is that? How do you try to get to heaven? I can try to win $1 million. I can try to, I can execute ways to win $1 million. I can execute ways to get a wife. I can execute ways to get a husband. But how do you execute ways to get to heaven? You see what we're doing? So in between now and destination, what application can I apply to get to heaven? Wow. See what we're going with that? So it's kind of a waste of a great life. It's kind of a waste of a perfect life because that's based upon what? There's no evidence of a heaven, is there? Is there any evidence of a heaven? Can anybody give me evidence of a heaven? I can give you evidence of Israel. I can give you that evidence. Now, the God of Israel, did he promise the children of Israel heaven? Come on now, Mishpah. Think about this for a minute. Did the God of Israel, did he promise the children of Israel heaven? Now, out of all the things that a father want to give his child, think about this for a minute. Don't you want to give your child the best gift out there? I mean, let's think for a minute. Now, this portion is dealing with this. If you want to give your child a gift, don't you want to give them the best gift ever? Now, if heaven was all that is souped up, say, wouldn't the God of Israel give the children of Israel heaven? And yet he gave them heaven. Because, get this, Israel is heaven. And last time I checked, the God of Israel gave his children as an inheritance was Israel. So, where is heaven? Come on, let's be real now. So, if heaven, what the point I'm trying to make is that heaven is on earth. Heaven is not this fictitious place of this grand illusion. Think about that for a minute. So, just like Good Girl was talking about that popular saying, everyone wants to get to heaven, but nobody wants to die. A lot of folks live, they're born, and they die, and they miss it. Because they didn't realize that heaven is not this fictitious place that they have to waste all their time and energy trying to get to heaven their whole life. Now, I don't know how you do that, or what steps they took. And again, this is another hoodwink and bamboozle of religion. This is how they subjugate you and prevent you from finding yourself and having heaven here on this earth. I have heaven on earth, but I don't know about you all. Y'all, woman 10 says, if heaven is milk and honey, I'm sitting at the table now. There you go. Because heaven is here on earth, not in some by and by place in the sky. Give me some proof and evidence of that. Only thing when I look up and I see in the sky is the stars and the moon and the galaxies and the Milky Way, depending on how far your telescope can go out. What is up in the sky is the space station satellites. That's up in the sky. But I don't have any evidence of a heaven. Why? Because heaven in the sky, because heaven is here on this earth. You know what I tell folks every day? When they say, hey, how you doing? You know what I say? It's another day in paradise. They're like, well. I tell them that. And I always get second looks and third looks, and I get some head swinging like Medusa, and like on The Exorcist, the head swung all the way around. You get your head, this is paradise? I'm like, it's whatever you want it to be. I desire for this life to be paradise. It's another day in paradise. That's what that famous singer, Elton John, wrote us all about it. Didn't he? Elton John pretty clued up, that Brit. Didn't he? Didn't he write a song about it? It's another day in paradise. But some folks don't see it that way. Oh, it's Phil Collins. My bad. To top of that correction. Phil Collins. Who, isn't he a Brit? I don't want to, let me correct. Is he a Brit as well as he American? Phil Collins, I think, is a Brit, right? Yeah, he's a Brit, right? Or is he American? I don't want to mess that up as well. Yeah, he's a Brit. Okay, so it's very, very important we understand that, is that, now, do I respect people that are still looking for their heaven in the sky? Hey, I respect you. I have family members, friends, and loved ones that are doing that same thing right now. They can't wait to get to heaven. I'm like, okay, keep waiting. keep praying on that. Hey, I have mad respect for you. We can have a friendship. But right now, I'm going to enjoy heaven on this earth. And I'm going to keep enjoying heaven on the face of this earth. Which is what it is. So it all goes about to it all. I'm taking this all back to relationships because this is key. In your journey, you're going to have to establish relationships. Relationship with self is so very important because you're going to go from journey to journey to journey to journey to journey to journey to journey, ultimately reaching your destination point or destination station. And then after that, my desire is that you develop another destination for yourself. And then, or it could be the same one, but you just meet it in a different way, going down a different journey. You understand what I'm saying? And you can take that and apply that in a marriage, in your finances, in your employment, in your friendships, in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion you want to apply it. But your family, you are Israel. We're Israel. So we come at the world from a different perspective. We may be seen as strange, which is some words I hear sometimes amongst the others. Maybe weird is another word. Demonic, I've been called that sometimes as well. Satanic, I've been called that as well, amongst other things. But we're seen as different because we come at the world from a different perspective. How can you be happy when there's a coronavirus? How can you be happy when people are dying? Why am I supposed to be sad? Am I supposed to be upset, depressed? That's just not my remit. That's not my station. My station is for peace, love, joy, happiness for all people. So I just can't say that. I have to demonstrate that. I have to execute and apply what I'm telling you that I say with my lips. You see? Eddie says, wow, Rabbi, keep a coat at the top of my list. Whether or not people are dying of the coronavirus is irrelevant. Because also people are dying of the flu. People are dying of cancer. You see, so again, situations in your journey can sometimes make you deviate if you begin to execute the wrong thinking in your mentality. If your thought process goes to both sides of your brain, then game over. But if you keep your focus in your midbrain, what you really believe in, the core, you see, we must make midbrain our core belief system. Because once you do that, it's concrete. Nobody can not tell you, even if they had a gun pointed to your head, that you're not successful, that you're not whole and complete in your health, that you're not wealthy, that you don't have an awesome husband, a perfect wife, because you can't have that for yourself. If you believe it, and if you know what you want and know what you desire, see, this is not no mammy-pammy religious mumbo-jumbo. We're not here to give you that. We're here to get real life, reality, 101 on the ground. How am I going to live my life? What do I want for myself? What do I desire? What's my destiny? What's my destination? Because whether you believe it or not, you're going through a journey. This is a journey that's going to reach whatever destination you want for yourself. If it's heaven, then so be it. I respect that. But I'm having my heaven on earth. I'm not waiting for some pie in the sky, and when I die, because then what am I going to do with it? I'm dead. What did I do with this life that's been given, this wonderful gift of life that has been given to me? What have I done? What a poor commentary that would be. I spent my whole life to get to this heaven. No, I spent my whole life doing what? Having heaven on earth, Baruch Hashem. And then being buried in the earth. Or being in the sea somewhere. That's why I'm going back to the sea, Baruch Hashem. But these are the things that we have to consider going forward. Yael, just put it this way, preparing to die. You waste your whole life preparing to die. Yet some people are like that. And what a sad commentary on the gift of life that we've been given. Instead of going from strength to strength to strength in their life, meeting one mark after another mark after another mark after another mark. This is why it's so important that you ask yourself this question, family. It's like, what is your destination? Understanding that you're going to have journeys along the way. But more importantly, what you need to understand in your journey, getting to your destinations and destinations, is that you must apply proper execution. And that brings me to that word execution. Because when we look at our parsha, I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. A lot of things going on here. I can talk about another bit of evidence that I noted in my own personal relationship with the Kohen, Rabbi Simon Altab, is that I've seen face to face the covenant of Shalom. It's real. And I've seen the evidence in Rabbi Simon Altab, the Kohen in the gate. He is the son of Aaron, and he does have the covenant of Shalom. I've seen it and witnessed it. I've been a watcher and a witness to that face to face to face. Because he has such a peace about him, and that surpasses all understanding. You can't understand. I don't understand. I shake my head like, this person just did this to you, and they still walking and talking? Because I don't understand it. Now, we see what was going on in here, and again, relations. You see, what gave the covenant of Shalom to Phinehas and to his descendants and to all the sons of Aaron was based upon a relationship. And remember what I told you. You need to know that is basically a relationship. You need to know about a relationship. Well, you need to know about the other person. You need to know what pushes that button and what doesn't. A lot of folks use relationships, you see. A lot of folks use relationships for good and for bad, and you can't use them that way. In my relations, in marital relations, evidence was collected on me to where my ex-wife knew exactly what buttons to push that would a particular reaction out of me. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. She would know what button. It can be positive or negative. She would know the exact button. She would know exactly what to push to get in that relationship to get a particular response out of it. You know what I mean? I remember coming up as a child. You ever want to see Rabbi keep a fight as a child? Say these words right here. Yo, mama. Hey, don't ever talk about Rabbi Keeper. Man, coming up as a child, man, don't ever talk about my mama. Oliver, don't talk about my mama. You want to get a particular reaction out of it? Talk about my mama. Say something about my mama. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Don't ever say anything about my mama. As coming up as a kid in the neighborhood, man, dudes wanted to start a fight with me, say something about my mama. Don't ever talk about my mama. Or look, don't ever lay hands on my siblings. I'm the oldest of 5. Don't put your hands on my brother, and definitely don't touch my sister. You do those things, we fight. Oh, we gonna fight. Oh, we gonna fight. So you see what I mean? In a relationship, and these were all the neighborhood guys, neighborhood friends, man. We shoot basketball together, we play football on the street together till the street light come home. But they knew what buttons to push when they wanted to take it to the next level. Don't talk about my mama. And don't mess with my siblings. Because you put your hands on my siblings and, we going to fight. That's just what it is. You don't do that. Covenant of Shalom, no such thing. You don't do those kind of things. You put your hands on my family, we going to fight. You talk about my mama, we going to fight. So those were the buttons that my friends, neighborhood buddies, everybody in the neighborhood, children in the neighborhood, they knew. They knew those buttons. Don't do this. You see, you got to know, again, now how did they know that? Because it was an established relationship over time. See? Now get this. If somebody outside of that group, say like a a new stranger, okay, new kid comes on the block, and he don't know me yet, but yet he talks about my mama. Guess what? He gets a pass, because he don't know me. So again, there was peace in that as well, because, how am I going to condemn somebody for something they don't know? Yet people do it all the time, right? Are you learning something from this lesson? You see, but yet people do that all the time. I couldn't talk about it in this lecture. You condemning folks, you said Taliban is bad. How many of you sat down with the Taliban? Anybody put up a capital T besides the goatee? He's exempt. How many of you in this room put up a capital T if you sat down and had tea and biscuits with a Taliban member? Anybody in this room? So, being just and fair in our judgments, can anybody make a statement against the Taliban? A negative statement? I can't do that. I can't sit here and talk negative about, but yet people do it all the time. Now, let's bring it closer home. How many of you in this room sat down and had a 5-piece Popeyes chicken dinner with the President of the United States? Anybody in this room sat down with President Trump and had a meal and broke bread together and sit down and talked about each other's families? And anybody done this in the room? Put up a capital P if you've done that. Well, who made you the biggest commentator on, President Trump is evil, President Trump? I can't make those assumptions. I've been told in my books that I'm to pray for my leaders. For those in leadership, you pray for them. Pray that the God of Israel gives them wisdom and guidance. Pray that they lead their people in a just and fair way. That's what we're supposed to do. But again, Israel, we cut from a different mold now. See, we don't just go with the group. And I want to read you what Moses said here in this story of Phinehas, because Moses says in Numbers chapter 25, verse 5, and Moses, now this is after, again, relationships were established. With the Moabites I told you, he was talking about that, and I thought about Moab. I told you talking about how Americans went over there to what they call the Middle East today and dropped the mother of all bombs over there. And yet, has that had any effects? They call the mother of all bombs, they call that Moab. That's actually a term that they use for the mother of all bombs. They call it Moab. It's the mother of all bombs. And they went over there and they dropped that bomb over there. Did that change the situation? Now, let's juxtapose that with what happened in Hiroshima. We went over there and dropped the atomic bomb. And did that change our situation? Think about it. Now, see, that is telltale when you're dealing with the covenants of the children of Israel. I tell you what, the Japanese people love America today, don't they? They have a high respect for American people, don't they? They will never attack America again, will they? Behind us dropping that bomb over there. But again, just in all fairness, name me one Taliban member that came over here and wrecked your house and destroyed America. Can't name one, can you? But yet, tell me something, Mr. Mahal. If somebody would come to your house, invade your house, kill some of your family members, would you not defend your home? I tell you, here in Texas, they will defend their home. They will defend their home. They will bring out every shiny object that they have to defend their home. So again, you must not see things in this little bubble that you call the four walls of your house and consider it a wall. You have to see the bigger picture. You must begin to establish relationships. And if you can't establish the relationship, then you have nothing to say about the matter, right? Israel, you can't say anything about the matter unless you have sat down and had a relationship with these people or this person, this individual. It's very important that you understand this. Now, Israel decided to have a relationship with the Moabites because they were told not to have these relationships and went into all kinds of things. And then it ended up that we look at Numbers chapter 25, verse 5, and Moses said to the judges of Israel, execute every one the men that were joined to Baal Peor. execute. There it goes right there, that word execute. Execute the men. Okay, that was happening. Now, in the meantime, look what we see in verse 6 of Numbers chapter 25. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought to his brethren a Midian woman in the sight of Moshe. Now, before just told them, everybody that was connected with this improper relations, execute them. There's the word execute. Gotta execute. But then, look. Then what happens? What happens? Just the same description I just described as a child coming up. And then somebody comes and brings you that drama right to your face. They bring it to you, right to you. That's what happens in Numbers chapter 25, verse 6. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought his brother a Midian woman in the sight of Moshe, in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of a tent of appointed times. Look at verse 7. Phinehas, again up. You bring the sin, you bring the wrongdoing right to you. It's like, okay, I'm not scared. I get deals. I have like VIP status. So I'm gonna explain my way through the situation when the execution order had already went out by Moses. So this person says, well, no, I'm gonna come in and I have a better seat at the table. If I could, Yael 1:10. I have a better seat at the table to where I can sit down and we can reason together in a relationship. When a relationship had already been established, and you have been given already the criteria of how the relationship was going down. But when you break that, then it has to be other execution, because you executed the relationship outside of what was considered supposed to be the correct way of doing things. You see, here you see another example of karma. You execute something one way, then execution comes to you. Tit for tat. Justice. Because Moses was talking in verse 5 to who? The judges of Israel. And all of you must understand this. Never put yourself in the judgment seat, but you do have to judge. But when you judge, it has to be just and fair in your judgment. And if you can't make a fair and just judgment, then don't judge. Don't open your mouth. Then don't execute. But remember what I wrote, and I told you guys earlier, which is very important for us to understand, and I wrote this in my notes. It's very important for you to understand. Build a relationship build relation before reaction. Very important. A lot of times we react with our mouths, but we have yet to build a relation. You see, and then when you go to build relations, because you already reacted with your mouth, guess where that relationship building is going? It's going nowhere too soon. You know what I mean? So, before you react, I'm not sitting next to him, he's a Muslim. That's reacting. And you never sat down to have a conversation with that Muslim. And full disclosure, if you already didn't know, Rabbi Simon Al-Taf was tucked away in Islam. Just like, and now, let's get this. Rabbi Simon Al-Taf, Al-Kohi, was tucked away safely in Islam. Just like a lot of our family members are tucked away in Islam as well. Safely, if I might say. See, this is where religion has its benefit. And a lot of you don't see this, but you need to. As a great judge, you want to be a great judge, then you must see all sides. A lot of you sit there and you condemn your religion that you used to be in. Don't condemn it. Do you know that religion actually protected you? It saved you. Because at the end of the day, Torah is about life, good girl. At the end of the day, come Shiloh or Sheol, Torah is about life. and to preserve that life. To always preserve life. So, for those of you who want to be Muslim haters, guess what? You could be hating on your own family members that don't know it. Now, they ignorantly don't know that they're Israel because they've been tucked away in Islam. Just like some of you have been tucked away in Christianity. Just like some of you have been tucked away in Catholicism. Are you with me, Mishpah? So how are we going to sit here and condemn, oh, I can't see that person. That person Muslim. You don't want that person to be your brother. From the tribes. And yet you condemning them, and you put them down, and you speaking against them, and you slandering them. Oh, who wants to be a judge, Alex, for 500? How many of you even want to be a judge now? But yet you're so judgmental. You say, Rabbi, I don't want to be a judge. But yet you're judging every day. And you're condemning every day. And you don't even have the evidence. You can't be just and fair in your judgment. Why? It's because you react before you build a relation. Chadasha that invoked my. She gave me that word. She gave me that word this morning. As I was changing my 9-month-old son's diaper. She gave me that. Know what she said? Build a relation before a reaction. Write that down. That's valuable information. And do you know that's just what the Kohen is doing? He builds relationships before he can establish a reaction. How can I react? How can I make a comment on something when I don't know the person? I don't understand the situation. I don't have the ins and outs of the geopolitical system. I don't know what's going on. You see, this is very personal for me. You know why? My wife is from China. She's Chinese. And with all this mumbo-jumbo going on, a lot of people look at my wife strange. Just because she's from China and she's Chinese, they think she's got the coronavirus. So they look at her kind of strange. And you know what they want to do? They want to condemn her and blame her. Not only my wife, but I guarantee you, a majority of the Chinese people here in North America are going through that same thing today. They're being prejudiced because they're Chinese and because the China virus and blah, blah, blah. That's all they say, China. So China's at fault. So you see how people are very judgmental this far? And I got a good friend. He owns a Chinese store here in town. Good man. His business is tanking since this coronavirus. Why? It's because now people don't want to go to his Chinese store anymore. Because it's China. Because he's from China. You see where I'm going with this? Now, people ignorantly are doing this. Why? Because it's based on what collective is saying. Let me tell you something, Mr. Hawk. Never run with consensus. Modern Judaism, as Hakolim will tell you, they'll sit here, the leadership will tell you, and say, well, we base our judgments on consensus. Never run with the numbers, Mr. Hawk. Because as you know with the story in our Parsha Pinchas, in our history, is that a lot for, as Moses said, executed. Right? Big numbers were executed because they went with the popular. Oh yeah, we can have relations with these women. It's cool. We go out here and do all this stuff that as is said in our books that the Most High, that the Master Yahweh didn't like. He didn't like that. What does this say? Those that died in the plague, and I think that's what, verse 20, in chapter 25, verse 9. Those that died in the plague were 24,000. I would consider that consensus. Oh, yeah. 24,000 men. I would consider that consensus. This is just not a one-off. Oh, they consider, oh, yeah, we can all do it, man. It's cool. Everybody else is doing it, so I'm going to do it too. Everybody else is protesting, so I need to protest too. No, you don't. Don't roll with the numbers. I'm a big fan of numbers, but don't roll with the big numbers because the big numbers will fail you when it comes to consensus. Oh, well, They have to be right, good girl, because there's so many of them that think that way. Does that mean that it's right? No, it doesn't. Right, Ohio 5? It doesn't mean that it's right. Just because, everybody else is doing it, so I need to get in and do it too. They all can't be wrong. Who says that? Never rule with consensus, Mr. Hearts. Roll with what you believe in is true. Well, everybody said I can't get that new car. Everybody tell me there's no way I'm gonna get that new house. So you're gonna take the opinions of everybody? What's the opinion coming out of your body? What does your subconscious tell you? What do you believe in your midbrain? What do you feed in your midbrain? Negativity? When you exercise your midbrain, what are you putting in there? I was listening to one psychologist. He said it. He was like, sociologist and psychologist. He was like, we exercise the body, but we don't exercise the brain. He said, we cure the body, but we don't cure the brain. I was like, that's a wise statement. Because with this corona, a lot of people are having mental issues. From either being cooped up too long, no sociability, no reaction, no relations. So what's the reaction when you don't have no relations? You start to develop these mental processes that are not positive. So the psychologist, sociology was saying, so people need to exercise, just like you exercise your body. You need to exercise your brain. And do we not? Hashem, thank you for the call you didn't give. Rabbi Simon out there. Have the tools to exercise the brain. Are you with me, Mr. Hart? Hashem. Give thanks. Show gratitude for the call you didn't give. Because what the psychologist, sociologist, what school, I got all these titles behind his name, he understands that. He said a lot of people in America don't exercise their brain, but they exercise their body. They quick to want these gyms to open back up so they can go to the gym and work out. There's nothing wrong with work out, do it myself. But at the same time, we need to exercise our brains. Put some brain reps in, you know what I mean? That's very important, Mr. Hart. You listen to me on YouTube. You see, this is not this religious mumbo-jumbo. You're getting real life, how to live your life. I haven't been given the covenant of Shalom as Judah, but I like to live a life of peace. How many of you with me? I'm a peaceful man. I'm a very peaceful man. Just don't push my buttons. Because then I'm like Moses. Then it's time to execute. You know what I mean? I'm like Moses. There comes a point when you must execute. Because when you deal with the sin, it was brought Moses has already put out the execution order, but then this man comes in and puts the sin right in Moses' face. Like, how dare you? It reminds me of old movies. You remember watching old movies where the men, they used to take off their little white glove or go up to the head and they would smack the other man in the face with it? It's almost just like that. Well, you put it in the face and then nobody did anything about it. Oh, you're not going to sit there and talk to my mom in my face. And then you know what the law is. You know what the rules are. The relationship has already been established. Yet you want to go outside the relationship. Oh, that's going to be dealt with. Because let me tell you something, Ms. Barr, and you all need to understand that. Don't take the peaceful default settings of Israel for a weakness. Don't do that. Many people in my have made that mistake. They have taken the kindness of Rabbi Kefa for a weakness. Big mistake. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. That's a big mistake. You're taking the gratitude of Rabbi Kefa for a weakness. Big mistake. Don't try to play on that. Don't do that. That's a big mistake when you do that. And I submit to you as well. Don't take the covenant of shalom of the priesthood as a weakness, because that would be a big mistake. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Aaron and his sons in the priesthood, the forever priesthood, as was described in this parsha, that they have the forever priesthood, was given to them based upon what? Based upon what? Based upon particular execution that had taken place. That everybody else is standing around here looking, but Phinehas took action, executed. You see? Action. That's what's needed in this time, Ishmael. Is that sometimes you must take action. You must execute. You must apply. And he was rewarded for that. He was rewarded forever priesthood. While everybody else is being spectators. Somebody stepped up and had to execute. Had to apply. Our Kohen does have the covenant of shalom. I've seen it time and time again. Because I'm a watcher and witness of some of the goings on in his life. I'm privy to a lot of things that you're not privy to with our Kohen, because our relationship. We have again, it's all about a relationship. Our relationship is a closer type of relationship, and I say that in all humility. I'm not saying that to puff myself up. I'm not a haughty person at all. I'm a very humble dude. But that's just what it is. Because of our relationship, I'm privy to some things, and I tell you, I'm a watcher and a witness. I see these things unfold. I see them unfold. And it's beautiful. I see it. I understand covenant of shalom. That's real to me. But just because I don't have the covenant of shalom, we as Israel, that's our default setting as well, is to be at peace. Not protesting. But to be at peace with ourselves and with those that are around us. But it starts, if you can't be at peace with others that are around you, if you're not at peace with yourself. We all know what's in us. That's just another example of what I'm saying here. Is that you don't take the kindness of Israel for weakness. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. You see, whether you believe it or not, those of you that are under the umbrella of the Torah, the Torah is not free. It's not free. Torah is not free. This way of life is not free. And I wrote this down in my Kohen's lecture. The Torah payment, Torah does have a payment. It's not free. The Torah payment is, anybody want to take a guess and gander what the Torah payment is? Because the Torah is not free. And for all of you that are under the umbrella of the Torah, you have embraced the Torah, you have taken the yoke of Torah upon you, you understand that the Torah has a payment. What is the payment of the Torah? Execution and application. That's the payment of the Torah. Execution and application. If you don't make this payment to the Torah, then Torah will manifest itself to you in the way that you desire. Because Torah requires execution and application. I'll say that again. Torah requires execution and application. And if you don't apply it, then you'll get a watered version of the Torah, like you see today, and what they call their Judaism. That's watered down. That's Torah watered down to its lowest point. Judaism. My goodness. So you too will get a watered down version. you'll get a watered-down version. And then you'll wonder why, like, what? I love God, and I'm doing Torah. No, you're not. You have to execute Torah. So, you know what one of Torah's executions is that you understand is that you have to take your instruction from the sons of Aaron. You can't take your instruction from willy-nilly to a blob on the street. Your instructions have to come from the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim. That's where you receive your instruction. So that you can do what? So that you can go out and you can react properly. And you can go out and you can take the necessary application. And you can take the necessary execution. And that's when your life will change. That's when, you'll find destiny, you'll meet destiny, and you're in that destined state. You're destined for whatever you're destined for. But what am I destined for, Rabbi? I don't know that. Only you know what you're destined for. What are you destined for? That's why I asked you the question. Are you destined for failure? You're destined for success? You're destined for sons and daughters? You're destined for husband? You're destined for wives? What are you destined for? And it all goes